The phone call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was watching the clock, unable to sleep after another argument about our future. Sarah had been distant for weeks, claiming work stress, but something felt different this time. "David, it's me." Sarah's voice was breathless, excited in a way I hadn't heard in months. "You'll never guess who just contacted me." I sat up in bed, studying her face in the blue glow of her phone screen. Her eyes were bright, alive in a way they hadn't been when she looked at me lately. "At midnight?" "Marcus is in town. My childhood friend, remember? I've told you about him." Had she? I searched my memory and came up empty. In 3 years of marriage, 6 years together, she'd never mentioned anyone named Marcus. "I don't think..." "Oh, from back home in Portland. We grew up on the same street." She was already typing a response, her fingers flying across the screen. "Anyway, he wants to meet up tomorrow. Isn't that amazing?" Something cold settled in my stomach. "Amazing," I repeated, watching her smile at whatever message she was reading. She glanced up at me, and for just a moment, I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Guilt. Excitement. "He says he's been thinking about me for years. Isn't that sweet?" "Sweet," I echoed, but the word tasted bitter. The next evening she was getting ready with unusual care. I watched from the doorway as she applied the deep red lipstick she only wore for special occasions. Our anniversary, job interviews, nights when she wanted to feel powerful. "So tell me about this Marcus," I said casually, leaning against the doorframe. Her hand paused for just a fraction of a second. In the mirror, I could see her thinking, calculating. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How long since you've seen him?" "Oh, years, maybe 10, 12. She capped the lipstick without meeting my eyes in the mirror. "We were really close growing up. His family lived 3 houses down from mine." "How close?" "David." She turned to face me, and there it was. That smile I'd fallen in love with 7 years ago. But now it looked different, practiced. "Are you jealous of a childhood friend?" "Should I be?" She laughed, but it sounded hollow in our bedroom. "Don't be silly. He's probably married with kids by now. You know how it is with old friends. You remember them frozen in time." But when she kissed me goodbye, her lips tasted like lies and expensive lipstick. 3 weeks later, "Another dinner with Marcus?" I asked, watching her grab the designer purse she'd bought last month, the one she said was for work events. "He's leaving town soon. We're just catching up on old times." When, what? She was checking her reflection in the hallway mirror again, adjusting her hair. "When is he leaving?" Sarah hesitated, her hand stilling on her necklace, the one I'd bought her for our 2nd anniversary. "Soon. He travels a lot for work." "What kind of work requires that much travel?" "He's a traveller." I set down my coffee, the ceramic making a sharp sound against the granite counter. "A traveller isn't a job, Sarah." "Well, you know how some people are, free spirits. He writes travel blogs, does photography, that sort of thing." She was backing toward the door now, her heels clicking on our hardwood floor. "I really should go. I'm already late." "You've never been late for anything in the 6 years I've known you." She froze, her hand on the doorknob. "People change, David." That night, I couldn't focus on anything. I tried watching TV, tried reading, tried working on the budget spreadsheet Sarah usually helped me with. Nothing held my attention. When she came home at 1:15 a.m., I was watching the clock again. I pretended to be asleep. "David," she whispered, her voice soft and slurred. Had she been drinking? Sarah never drank on weeknights. "Are you awake?" I kept my breathing steady, the way I'd learned during my years of insomnia in college. She stood there for a long moment, and I could feel her watching me in the darkness. Then I heard her whisper something that made my blood freeze. I'm so sorry, David." 2 months in. My sister Emma called during lunch break. "You sound terrible, what's wrong?" "Sarah's been different lately." "Different how?" Emma had never particularly liked Sarah, said she was too perfect, too controlled. I'd always defended my wife, but now she's been meeting with some old friend. A lot. How much is a lot? 7 times in 2 months. Emma was quiet for a long moment. "David, that's not normal friend behaviour." "I know." "Have you met him?" Number she keeps making excuses. "Then tonight, you meet him." That evening, I tried a different approach. "Let me drive you tonight." "That's sweet, but I can manage." Sarah was applying perfume. Not her usual light vanilla scent, but something deeper, more sensual. "I'd like to meet him, this mysterious Marcus who's captured so much of your attention." The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Finally, she said, "Why?" "Because my wife has had dinner with a man I've never met 7 times in 2 months, and I don't even know what he looks like." "You're keeping count?" Her voice had an edge I'd rarely heard. "Should I not be?" She set down the perfume bottle with more force than necessary. "David, you're being paranoid." "Am I? Then you won't mind if I drive you." 20 minutes later, I was shaking hands with a man who felt like danger wrapped in expensive cologne and a $1,000 watch. "So you're the famous husband," Marcus said, his grip lingering just a beat too long. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with the kind of casual confidence that comes from never being told no. His eyes were the colour of dark chocolate, and when he smiled I could see why women would find him attractive. "Sarah talks about you constantly." Funny, she barely mentions you." I kept my voice level, professional. His smile never wavered, but something flickered behind those dark eyes. "I've always been forgettable, that's what makes me good at what I do." Which is observing people, understanding what they need. His gaze flicked to Sarah, who was fidgeting with her wedding ring. What they're missing in their lives. Sarah laughed nervously, the sound too high, too forced. "David, you should head home. This might run late." I looked between them. My wife of 3 years and this stranger who seemed to know exactly which buttons to push. "How late?" "Hard to say," Marcus answered for her, his hand resting casually on the back of Sarah's chair. "Time flies when you're reminiscing about the good old days." "The good old days," I repeated, "in Portland." "The best days," Marcus said, his eyes never leaving Sarah's face, "before life got complicated." As I walked away, I heard Sarah say, "You shouldn't have said that about life being complicated." "Why not?" Marcus replied, his voice carrying just far enough for me to hear. "It's the truth, isn't it? When's the last time he made you feel alive?" I drove around the block and parked where I could see the cafe window. For 45 minutes, I watched them lean closer and closer across the table. She was animated in a way I hadn't seen in months, her hands gesturing as she talked, her laugh carrying through the glass. When she reached out and touched his hand, something died inside me. When he lifted her chin and kissed her, soft, lingering like they'd done it 1,000 times before, something else was born, something cold, something patient. That night, how was dinner? Good, too bright, too fast. She was humming again, that same tune from weeks ago. We just talked about old times. What old times specifically? Oh, high school, college. She was putting away her purse, not looking at me. "I thought you said you were childhood friends." She froze, her hand halfway to the closet. "We were. We stayed friends through school, too." I nodded slowly, pretending to read my book. "Must have been some conversation. You were there for 3 hours." "Were we?" I didn't realize. She was in the bathroom now, removing her makeup. "Time flies when..." When you're reminiscing about the good old days. I heard the makeup wipe hit the trash can with unusual force. The colour drained from her face when she came back into the bedroom. Sit down, Sarah. David, I can explain. Sit down. She sat on the edge of our bed, the same bed where we'd made love just last week, where she'd whispered that she loved me, where she'd planned our future together. Tell me about Marcus, the real story. I already told you. Tell me the truth. For 30 minutes, she spun elaborate lies. Stories about innocent friendship, about catching up on family news, about my paranoid imagination. She told me about Marcus's photography business, his travels through Europe, his recent breakup that left him lonely and needing a friend. She painted herself as a caring confidant. Nothing more. Finally, I played my card. I saw you kiss him. The house went silent except for the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway, the one we'd bought together at an antique shop in Vermont last summer. David! I saw you! She broke like a dam in a flood. It just happened. We were talking and he was telling me about his travels and how lonely he's been, and I was thinking about how routine our life has become and how we never do anything spontaneous anymore, and... Stop. She stopped. Do you love him? I don't know. It's complicated. It's not complicated. Do you love him? Longer pause. I think I might. The words hit me like a physical blow. Do you love me? Yes, but it's different with Marcus. He makes me feel like the person I used to be. And who were you? Someone who took chances, someone who felt alive. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Someone who wasn't planning grocery lists and retirement funds and whose turn it is to do laundry. I stood up slowly. I need some time. Where are you going? To Emma's. For how long? I looked at her one last time, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned to grow old with, who I'd imagined having children with, who I'd trusted with my heart completely. I don't know. David, please, don't leave me. You already left me, I said quietly. You just forgot to mention it. 1 week later, Emma's apartment had become my refuge. She didn't ask questions, just made coffee and let me figure things out. She's called 17 times today, I said, staring at my phone. Are you going to answer? I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You don't owe her anything. But I listened to the voicemails anyway. David, please come home. I made a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life. I ended it with Marcus. He's gone. He left town this morning. I love you. Only you. I was just confused. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything. The last message was different. Quieter. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I can't lose you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away for a fantasy. Please, just come home so we can talk. When I finally walked through our front door, she was waiting at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee and red-rimmed eyes. Thank God, she breathed. I thought you were never coming back. I almost didn't. But you did. That means something, doesn't it? We can fix this, can't we? I studied her face, the face I'd kissed good morning for 3 years, the face I'd seen across the breakfast table planning our weekends, our vacations, our life together. Under one condition. Anything. I'll do anything. I get one free pass. Someday when I choose, I sleep with someone else. And I don't tell you when or who. Her face went white. David, you broke our marriage vows. You broke my trust. This is how we make it even. That's not how marriage works. 2 wrongs don't make a right. It's how our marriage works now. Take it or leave it. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her weighing her options. Stay with the husband she'd betrayed under his terms, or lose everything and start over. "I'll take it," she whispered. Of course she did. 2 years later, the lawyer's office. The mahogany conference table reflected the fluorescent lights as I sat across from Sarah and her attorney. She looked older, more tired. The past 2 years had worn on her. "Mr. Chen, please state the grounds for divorce." "Adultery." Sarah's lawyer, a sharp woman in an expensive suit, leaned forward. "My client contests this. She admits to a single indiscretion 2 years ago, which was forgiven. Furthermore, Mr. Chen himself committed adultery under their mutual agreement." I smiled for the first time in months. "Actually, I didn't." Sarah stared at me, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. "What?" "I never cheated on you, Sarah. Not once. But you said you would. I've been waiting 2 years, watching every late night, every business trip, every text message." "I know. I wanted you to know what it felt like to live with that weight, every day, wondering, every night, imagining. Every time I came home late, every business trip, every unexplained moment. You tortured yourself, wondering if this was the day I'd get my revenge." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You let me think. All this time. I let you live with the consequences of your choice. For 2 years, you experienced a fraction of what you put me through. The paranoia, the doubt, the constant fear that the person you loved most was betraying you. That's psychological torture." "No," I said, gathering my papers. "That's justice." "But I ended it with Marcus. I chose you. I chose our marriage. You chose me after you chose him. There's a difference." I stood up, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Love isn't a participation trophy, Sarah. You don't get credit for coming back after you've already left." Sarah's lawyer cleared his throat. "Mr. Chen, if you never committed adultery, then the counterclaim falls apart. Yes." I looked at Sarah one last time. "You asked me once if I loved you. I did, completely, unconditionally. But love without trust is just a beautiful lie. And I've lived with enough lies." As I walked toward the door, she called out, "David, wait!" "What happens now? Where do I go?" I turned back one last time. "Now you get to find out who you really are when you're not living a double life. Maybe you'll find that person Marcus made you feel like, or maybe you'll discover she never really existed." "I'm scared." "Good," I said quietly. "Fear keeps you honest." The door clicked shut behind me, and for the first time in 2 years, I could breathe. Outside, Emma was waiting in her car, just as she'd promised. "How do you feel?" she asked as I got in. I thought about it, watching Sarah through the building's glass doors, sitting alone at that conference table, finally understanding the full weight of what she'd destroyed. "Free," I said. "Like I've been holding my breath for 2 years and can finally exhale." "Any regrets?" I considered the question as we drove away from the life I'd built and lost. "About the marriage?" "Yes." "About how I ended it?" "None." "What now?" "Now I get to find out who I am when I'm not wondering if my wife is lying to me." Emma smiled. "That sounds like a good place to start." Justice isn't always quick, but it's always exact. And sometimes the most perfect revenge